I've been a precious metals bug since 1971. And I own lots of gold and silver, and today some Bitcoin and even some Ethereum. And the reason I do that is very simple. It's not because I love gold, silver, Bitcoin, and all that. I just don't trust my government. And if you trust our government, trust the dollar, trust the stock market, trust Fauci, trust all those high-paid government academic elite bureaucrats to watch out for you, then fine, But I'd rather trust gold, silver especially, because they're God's money. God put them here on earth. They're actually elements of the periodic table. In case if you don't know what that is, I think it was chemistry class, but I cheated that class also. I just trust gold, silver, and I trust Bitcoin and Ethereum more than I trust the government or anybody else. I just don't trust Fauci. I don't trust Biden. I don't trust Kamala. I don't trust the Fed, and I don't trust the Treasury. It's that simple. I'd rather trust God's money, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. I'd rather trust that stuff than criminal bureaucrats.
Gold's had a great little run through the pandemic. We saw an enormous amount of demand coming through from the pandemic. And that seems to be continuing here. And one of the reasons is that when you hear inflation's running at 7%, which we haven't seen for 44 years, the last time we saw inflation this high was 1978. And for all of your listeners, from 78 to 1980, it doubled again. Inflation went up to 14%. A lot of money printing back then, so a lot of money printing today. So the demand for things like Bitcoin and Ethereum and precious metals have been high, and I would suspect that we're going to see continued high demand, especially when they start raising interest rates and the stock market and other markets, may have some problems. If someone called us and said, hey, look, I want to own physical silver, or I want to own some silver, and I'm thinking about an exchange traded fund, I would say, okay, well, if I told you I was going to sell you physical silver, and then I was going to ship it off to, HSBC Bank over in Europe somewhere, and we were going to hold it there, would you do it? And most of the time people say no. And I said, well, that's exactly what you're doing with the ETF. And by the way, not all of the ETFs hold 100% of their stock in physical silver. They use hedging and futures and options contracts up to 20%, sometimes even larger. So 80% may be backed by physical gold. The other 20% is just a bunch of paper again. So I tend to shy away from them. And there has been times in the past 10 years where you had an option to purchase it and there wasn't much silver to purchase. So prices continued to go higher and real problem. The physical material sometimes gets very difficult. We've had a couple in the past 4 or 5 years with the U.S. Mint just completely running out of silver, and prices have skyrocketed. So physical in your hand usually is, in my opinion, and yours, better than holding the piece of paper that gives me the right to potentially take it physically.
And that's one of the reasons I stay away from the dollar, because it's fiat. Fiat means government decreed. That means Biden saying, trust me. He can't even remember his name, but he's going to say, trust me. But anyway, and then Kamala, oh my God, the border czar, or whatever she is. And they opened the border up and going, oh my God.
Yeah.
Are we nuts? Has this country gone nuts?
From a financial standpoint, you look at a few things. You look at scarcity of computer chips, of metals, that is what happened in 1970. For anybody who wasn't around in 1970, you had to get in line to get gasoline, if everybody remembers that, right? Some of those same things are starting to happen. And then you look at the inflation rate, all the way back to 1978. I don't believe anybody thought that we would get an inflation rate at 7% and still have interest rates below 3%. So what happens if inflation stays at 7% mortgage rates? 9%? The real estate market would get crushed at 9%. It would probably fail dramatically at anything over 6 or 7%, if I had to guess. So this inflation rate that we have and the scarcity of products out there or materials is a big caution sign, I believe, for people over the next couple of years. Higher interest rates, so on and so forth, will naturally follow if they can't get this inflation under control. Very positive for precious metals. I think positive for the crypto market. Probably inflation positive for the real estate market. Not so positive for stocks and bonds and some of the other areas that look like they're in bubble land. If we look at history and we just go back the last time inflation was trading at 7%, 1978. The metals market was trading right around $375 an ounce. Silver was trading right around $7, $8 an ounce. By 1980, the inflation rate had gone up to 14.5%. Interest rates, as everybody knows, went up to 15%, and the price of gold went from $375 all the way up to $850. The silver market went to $49. So gold and silver are typically very good hedges against inflation. A lot of people say higher interest rates hurt the precious metals market, and I kind of laugh. If interest rates were at 15% and the precious metals at the time was at an all-time high of $850 an ounce back then, interest rates played a role in getting the precious metals up to those numbers. Usually higher interest rates are bad for the stock market, great for, precious metals.
One more thing is that what people don't realize is in around 2000, gold was $300 an ounce, and today it's about $1,800. And then people talk to me about Apple and all this. So I said, well, gold didn't do too bad.
I think people believe that this thing, gold, that's been around this long, can be replaced by paper, and it can be replaced by digital things, but it still has stood this test of time. And the central banks are holding it. The JP Morgans are holding it. Why are they holding it? Because they know it's going to be around another 5,000 years.
The reason I know this is because I've actually traveled the world looking for, I've been to Argentina, bought a silver mine out there. But the thing that really convinced me was I went to Peru in 1989, I think, whatever it was. And I'm standing in the Andes, and I was about at 14,000 feet. I was passing out because I couldn't even breathe. And I look on this mountainside, and I see these little holes going up the mountainside. And so I asked the guide, I call him the little Inca, he's Peruvian. So what was that? He says, that was the Inca, or the indigenous people at that time, looking for gold and silver.
Right.
And I went, so this is before telegraph, this is before internet. What were these guys who are primitive people with no information from the outside world? They're as isolated as they can be. But they were tracking this vein going up this mountain. He says, and this other guy, he was a priest. He says, because gold are the tears of God. Human beings know intuitively, instinctively, that it's real, it's God's money. And so that's why I get up and I sound like some evangelist, gold and silver are God's money. I'm going, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I said, these Inca or indigenous people are looking for gold way up in the mountains. And I'm going, why is that? At the same time, they were doing the same thing all over the world.
That's
and
right.
Before there was radio, television, TV, all that stuff, they're already doing it. Then I go to Mongolia, this place called the Checkerboard. They're doing the same thing. They had little holes all over the place. And I'm going, well, were the Mongolians communicating to the Peruvians? I don't think so. So there's something mysterious about gold, silver, and Bitcoin. So we're going to go for a break, but we're also going to come up, much like Bitcoin and many of the cryptos, there is a finite amount. There's other things called country risk. Why is gold always placed in the most dangerous places on earth? And if the country hates you, they won't let you touch their gold. So all of these factors are important when you consider, should I own a few gold coins or a few silver coins or bars of silver or gold? But it's not just, this is ancient stuff. And so when people say it's an ancient relic, whatever it is. It's gold and silver are God's money. And the reason gold, silver, and Bitcoin are similar, or cryptos, is because of the limited supply. And the supplies are getting more limited. And as the worlds get more dangerous, gold and silver become more scarce because more and more bankers are holding on to it. But also, for some reason, gold and silver are always deposited in the most dangerous places on earth, in dangerous countries. So all of these are factors that go into when I sit on Lyric Capital and Fox Television and I say, I buy silver. There's a reason for it, and not because I'm getting compensated. One big reason I recommend silver is, as Kevin already mentioned, not too long ago in the 80s, silver was $50 an ounce. And gold was like 800. Today, gold is at 1,800, but silver is now $25 an ounce. And silver is an industrial metal. It means it's used in batteries, solar, all this stuff, and there's less of it. So when I say silver at $25 an ounce, that's like saying Apple at $50 a share, or Bitcoin at $3,000 a share. That's how I look at it.